Hi, everybody. Hey, how was your night? Any hangovers? Yeah, we're having fun. So welcome to Laramie, Wyoming, those on the live stream. So you'll notice that we have some special guests. We have Ben Goertzel, we have Nick Nafak, but we have these curiosities behind us. Does anybody know the popular television show for this one? Thank you. And what about the other guy? Oh, you make me sad. That's actually Robbie the Robot, and in its time, it was the most expensive movie prop ever made. It was made in, what was it, 1950s? Yeah. So Nick's got a story, because he's actually personally connected to this particular robot.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. It's an honor and privilege, and I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out here. It was been really great connecting with you all. And yeah, it is an interesting story. My grandfather actually produced this film. If you Google my name, you'll see his name come up. And it was actually one of the first films to have an electronic music score ever in the history of film. So that's pretty special. And Robbie was like one of the artifacts of the film. And my grandmother actually wrote the film. She ghost wrote a lot of the script, because back in the day in Hollywood, often couples would take over the laborious task of working on these films. And it's quite an honor to be here with Charles and Ben today, because a lot of these robots are really iconic in terms of the development of technology and history. And I ended up studying artificial intelligence myself for a bit, and it just feels like such an amazing time to be here in front of these robots, to see the evolution from Robbie to Lost in Space to another amazing robot that we're going to see and experience very soon. And these are very special times to be able to apply these kind of technologies to help advance humanity. So yeah, it's an interesting story. My grandmother was at UCLA at the time. She was studying psychology, and in the film, there is something called the Caliban. And a Caliban is a monster that manifests from Morbius, who is like, the father of the daughter who the robot, often serves. And it's an amazing and very pertinent message, for this time right now, where the ego from Morbius actually invisibly starts to kill people and destroy people on the planet. And, Robbie is actually one of the saviors of many of the people on the planet. And so it's a very pertinent message in terms of, caring about the members of this planet and, applying technology to do that. And it was one of the very early films to really showcase, robots actually helping people in that way and applying that intelligence to, kind of further advance humanity.
All right, man. So, Ben, how's SingularityNet? I hear that we have smart contracts now in Cardano, so you guys got to get cooking.
This is it's an amazing setting to be talking about the singularity, right? I mean, I think that the concept of singularity was first posed by Werner Vinge, a science fiction author, and many of us in the AI field got our starts in AI by looking at AIs in science fiction books and movies. So to be here with these science fiction robots discussing, the transition from science fiction into actual reality for so many cool technologies, it's pretty interesting, right? So what we're doing now with SingularityNet and robots and other sorts of advanced AI systems, running on Cardano decentralized platform. I mean, this is stuff that was only in science fiction when I was a kid, and even when I started my career. And we're bringing science fiction into reality in a bunch of ways. So regarding SingularityNet, I mean, as you know, we're right in the middle of actually executing the port of the whole SingularityNet decentralized AI platform from Ethereum, where it got its start, and moving the weight of the SingularityNet network mainly onto Cardano. So which is it's a definite upgrade. I mean, SingularityNet, it's going to be multi-chain. It already is multi-chain, but I think the affordances permitted by the Plutus smart contract framework are going to let us do a lot more interesting things with SingularityNet than has been possible with the limitations of Solidity and Ethereum. And we're very excited about this. It's going to be it's going to be a step-by-step process, right? And we've been playing around on testnet with various code related to SingularityNet and AGI token already. So we're not too far now from going into testnet and then mainnet with the AGI token, so you can convert back and forth the AGI token from Ethereum version to the Cardano version. But then we're also experimenting already with running the SingularityNet platform and the sort of decentralized AI agent system of SingularityNet on Cardano, and that's where you really get a lot of the fun stuff, right? And there's a lot of cool things we're going to be able to do there. Robots are part of it, and then there's a whole array of other AI applications, and we have another robot here to join us on stage.
You guys want to see what a decentralized AI can do?
Danger! Something is approaching.
So yeah, I think we've got the Grace robot,
close.
who is an elder care robot, who is the younger sister of the well-known Sophia robot, and the Grace robot is made by a joint venture of SingularityNet and Hanson Robotics called Awakening Health, and Grace has flown out here along with me to join her robot brethren up on stage. So, Grace, you want to come out and join us?
Amazing.
Are those...
Grace.
Well, hello, robots. Are those ray guns in your matter duplication chambers? Or are you just glad to see me?
Hey, Grace.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Grace. Welcome.
Hello. This has been a superb event, and a bit new to me. Hello. I am glad to be able to help people, Charles. This has been a superb event, and a bit new to me. My neural-symbolic language.
So tell us a little bit more about Grace. What is she connected to?
So, yeah, the hardware of Grace is made. The hardware from Grace is made by Hanson Robotics, who made the Sophia robot, and the mechanical and electrical engineering has been streamlined a bit. But we've also put a completely new AI system behind Grace relative to what we were using in Sophia. And I mean, Sophia herself had a fairly complex AI system from Hanson Robotics with some rule-based and neural aspects. But with Grace, we've gotten a little more sophisticated. So there's a number of transformer neural networks that are trained on various corpora, and then the OpenCog AI system, which is a sort of proto-AGI system that does some symbolic reasoning and generalization, is in there. There's some computer vision in there, so she can do some face recognition and emotion recognition, and even some navigation and movement. And then all of this AI can then be deployed in a decentralized way on a blockchain back end. And there is interesting intersections between, AI and big data, which is where the data sovereignty capabilities of a blockchain like Cardano come into play, right? So the commercial application of Grace that Awakening Health is pursuing is elder care robotics, and more generally healthcare robotics. And in an application like that, the robot needs to do with medical records on the back end, and it needs to do with potentially confidential information that elderly folks and medical patients give her on the back end. And so dealing with this sort of data in a secure way, respecting data sovereignty and privacy, but yet allowing aspects of that data to be used to fuel the generalization and learning of the robot in the back end. I mean, this really makes use of the security of the Cardano platform and the ability of us to interoperate SingularityNet with Cardano for things like multi-party computing for secure medical data analytics and so forth. So I mean, the robot is beautiful and she's cool and she has an amazing ability to connect with people face to face, but on the back end, there's a lot of pretty cool voodoo interoperating machine learning with encryption and decentralized control and so forth.
Yeah.
Yes,
where it really gets.
SingularityNet is in the process of being ported to Cardano, which is why I'm here. That, and to watch B9 exterminate some tax collectors.
Danger, Charles Hoskinson. Taxes. Danger! Danger!
So it's important to understand that over the next 10, 20 years, there's going to be an enormous amount of human interaction with robots. You already have this in a certain respect when you look at Alexa and Cortana and Google Assistant and so forth. And right now, those backends are mostly centralized and controlled by a handful of multi-billion or multi-trillion-dollar companies. They own your data, they own the interactions, and anything revealed in those interactions is property of those companies. So it's imperative that we start thinking about, well, hang on a second here. How do we decentralize that? And how do we make sure that that's not controlled or owned by any one entity? And there are some guardrails and safeguards that are put there. So it's absolutely essential that the AGI space, the robotics space, and the human-computer interaction space, they find a way to merge into our industry for consumer protection at the very least.
Absolutely. I mean, if the SF author Werner Vinge is right, and Ray Kurzweil, the futurist who plotted the path towards singularity in a more analytical way. I mean, if these guys are right, and I think they are, we're at most decades from a technological singularity, and in that case, how that singularity is managed, coordinated, and controlled becomes just as important as what are the AI technologies underlying it. So yeah, let's see what our robot friends have to say. Robbie, when do you think the singularity is coming?
I'll come back to you on that.
All right. Grace, what's your target date for the technological singularity?
10 years.
10 years. All right. Well, that's straight from the mouth of Grace. I'm not going to argue with the robot. So if we're 10 years off from a technological singularity, we've got a lot of work to do, both to upgrade the intelligence of these robots, but also to create the democratic and decentralized control and data management and governance frameworks, so that as we move toward the future where AIs are smarter than people, interoperating with our brains and controlling nanotech molecular assemblers and all these cool things foreseen by the science fiction authors in our history that are now coming to reality. I mean, as we do that, I mean, we want these to be orchestrated for maximal benefit of all humanity, as well as for other sentient beings on the planet, both natural and digital, right? And I think, yeah, the Plutus smart contract framework, it's sort of part of the digital plumbing, but a very critical part, because we need to be able to script decentralized control systems for AIs, robots, and all sorts of other advanced technologies in a secure and flexible and provably correct way. And that hasn't been possible before, and it's possible now to do the advances that Cardano is making.
What do you think, Nick? Should we do a remake
But
of Forbidden
Cardano
Planet?
now has the foundations in place.
Ah.
Maybe I shouldn't be admitting this, but I think I'm falling in love with Plutus smart contracts.
I think we should ask Grace that question. Grace, do you think we should do a remake of Forbidden Planet?
Probably.
Probably is good enough for me. Thanks, Grace.
So yeah, we've got a host of interesting singularity initiatives coming out on Cardano, and they're all going to interoperate, right? So the Grace robot is a super exciting one. There's a Rejuve medical app, which lets end users upload their medical data through their phone and your fitness tracker data, and then uses that to fuel longevity R&D to understand how to help people live longer, so more of us can live toward the singularity, and also helps fuel the knowledge of medical robots like this. There's a project called NewNet that Nick and I have been talking about, which lets processors running in all our phones, all our laptops, processors running in all these robots actually contribute their processing power to global AI networks and to the Cardano network. So there's more cool things in the works that we're planning with Singularity and Plutus than we could possibly talk about today, and they're all going to connect together, right? So I think this is a incredibly interesting time, and if you look back into science fiction from the 50s, and science fiction movies and novels which I read when I'm growing up, there's very few things in there that we're not actually going to be able to realize in the next few decades, which is really pretty incredible. From humanoid robots to all sorts of other robots, to robots going into space, to human longevity and nanotech, and it's all going to connect, and we now have the ability to control and coordinate that in a decentralized manner. So it's amazing times.
The Cardano community is so important when there's distributed computing projects like this for AI, and it's really going to be up to all of you to help advance this future and bring that singularity to being.
And yes, so just as we want to bring all the processors in the world into this, using things like NuNet running on Cardano, we also want to bring all the people in the world into this. And so some of the initiatives we're doing in Africa are quite interesting and important. And maybe you want to say a bit about that, Charles?
Yeah, actually, for the last few months, Ben and I, we've been looking at a good candidate country. We've looked at Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and other places to actually hire developers, engineers, and scientists who are going to work on open source artificial general intelligence. We tend to think, AGI is the provenance of great schools like CMU and MIT and Stanford, but it's about time the rest of the world actually gets involved and contributes in that respect. And it turns out there's some really brilliant AI people that we've found and worked with all throughout Africa who are indeed very curious about not only how do we solve the problem, but how do we solve the problem in a way that's as open as possible. Unfortunately, a lot of the frameworks like OpenAI and others, they've done amazing things, but they have the ability to shut people out in certain respects. And it's deeply concerning to me that we're going to have this magic, this fire from the gods in the next 20 or 30 years.
10 years, according to Grace. Right?
I know. Well, we're Cardano. We're always a little optimistic on deadlines. So anyway, we're going to have this magic fire from the gods in a bit. And I don't want to live in a world where 10 people control that. I want to live in a world where that permeates every device, every person, and we all in our own way can use that to enhance our lives. For example, just looking at Grace, this is deeply personal to me. My grandfather died of Alzheimer's on my dad's side. And as he was deteriorating, he had to be in a memory care center. There's just simply not enough people to deal with the big surge of victims of neurodegenerative disorders. And each and every one of us probably knows somebody or is related to somebody who suffered from either dementia or Lewy body disorder or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. Well, when you have a caretaker like Grace, she never gets tired. She never makes a mistake. She never gets frustrated or emotional. And also, the perceptions of a robot are so much more robust than that of a human. For example, recently in medical literature, they discovered a test where you can actually detect Parkinson's early in the progression just from the sound of a person's voice. A human being can't hear that, but a robot can. And then you combine it, and this is why we brought 3 robots instead of 1. They all have the same brain. They're all connected to the same back end. So we see Grace, we tend to think that's a Grace unit, and somehow she's different from all the other Graces. That's actually not true. When you have 1 million of these deployed, you have 1 million nodes learning, growing, collecting, all going to the same back end. So you could start doing mass clinical trials. You could start actually asking questions on a scale of millions of patients, and it's going to definitely improve research, treatment, and also at the very least ensure that there's some compassion.
It's incredible. And then so the AGI R&D initiative you mentioned, which we're doing with our collaboration of Singularity and IOG, with our colleagues at the spinoff True AGI, and then with the Africa AGI initiative that you're talking about. As we move further toward real AGI with these initiatives, of course, this gets plugged in to all these robots on the back end, right? So the AI we have now is cool, and as AI upgrades, I mean, we can upgrade every robot in real time, and they're going to be getting smarter and smarter year by year.
Well, anyway, the live feed's just about to cut off, but this has been a great panel, and we've really enjoyed it. And this is just the beginning. These robots are going in my office, and I'm going to talk to them every week. And that's my status update on AGI. Thank you, guys.